Only communism can save mankind. Xiefeng. August 8, 2016. Capitalism has achieved great progress for humanity. Transportation and communication are very convenient and produce is abundant in today's society. The earth supports 7 billion people, mainly as a result of capitalistic development. Without capitalism, today's civilization could not exist. Capitalists are the elite of society. They have generated much material wealth for people and resolved unemployment issues for a large number of people. Without capitalists, many more of us would be very poor and suffer underdeveloped and empty lives. However, the development of capitalism has gradually revealed three major issues that it cannot overcome. The unequal distribution of wealth. The overconsumption of natural resources. The further intensified trend of selfishness and greed from human nature. As reported by CNS New York on January 20, 2015, the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world possess 48% of the world's wealth, the following 19% possess 46%, and the bottom 80% only possess 5.5%. The unequal distribution of wealth will result in a series of social problems such as a desire to be wealthy quickly and its resulting illegal activities, hostility against the wealthy, production of counterfeit goods, seizing of resources, illicit drug production and trafficking, jealousy and struggling, stealing, cheating, blackmailing, exploiting, gambling, speculating, and corrupting because of feeling psychologically unbalanced. Violence. All these problems cannot be resolved through capitalistic production relations. The second issue caused by the development of capitalism is the unreasonable and huge consumption of natural resources. Professor Mohan Munna Singh, the Vice Chair of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and a board member of Green Cross International, said that by 2012, we had overdrawn 50% of the sustainable natural resources of the Earth, and he predicted that if we continue pursuing our current lifestyles, we would need those of 2 planets to meet the demand of the total population by 2030. Not only is the excessive consumption of natural resources unable to support a sustainable future, but it will also lead to a series of natural disasters. The deterioration of the natural environment in recent years is very evident: global warming, drought and drying river beds, floods, hurricanes, thawing permafrost and the disappearing Arctic ice cap as ancient glaciers melt and result in a rise of sea level, destruction of biodiversity, and polluted rivers, sea, and soil, to name just a few. Even more severe are the natural disasters which are aggravating, not by a small percentage, but rather at a geometric rate. Due to this climate change, it is possible that within the next 15 years, many places on Earth will become uninhabitable. The number of refugees caused by natural disasters could reach hundreds of millions, which could lead to social upheavals, and if that happens, the United Nations and the existing governments will be impotent. The nature and development of capitalism are based on selfishness and greed. The ultimate purpose of the efforts of almost everyone is to get more resources and wealth for themselves. In order to meet their growing and changing desires, people are working hard, day and night, in order to acquire more wealth and resources, which in turn aggravates the selfish consciousness and actions. Excessive development and consumption driven by endless desires of human beings are the core drivers that lead to pollution, global warming, destruction of biodiversity, and other natural disasters. Stephen Hawking once predicted that selfishness will lead to the destruction of the human race within 200 years. Except for the 3 big conditions of inequitable distribution of wealth, uncontrolled consumption of natural resources, and selfishness and greed, others such as financial turmoil, massive global military spending, fast population growth, huge numbers of civil servants in each country, and large amounts of waste, are problems that cannot be overcome within our current system. Stephen Hawking predicted that the end could come within 200 years. It is becoming clear, however, that if these issues are not resolved soon and if things continue to deteriorate, it could very likely happen within less than 100 years. The U.S. is the most developed capitalist country in the world, and its consumption of natural resources is so large that, according to Singapore's newspaper, Zaobao, if everyone in the world consumed what the average American does, we would need 5 Earths to meet their demand. In addition, according to a report in the American Aerospace Daily of April 11, 2016, data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, showed that global defense spending in 2015 totaled about $1.7 trillion, and the top spender, the U.S., reached $596 billion. Given the reality of the U.S.'s consumption of natural resources and its military spending, natural resources will surely become depleted eventually as a result of the development of capitalism. A country whose population accounts for less than 4% of the world's total is consuming 25% of the Earth's resources. If every country were to do as the U.S. does, humanity would surely face a dead end. Population expansion is a major world problem. According to statistics from the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, the world population is increasing at a rate of 80 million people per year. A recent report from the UN forecast that the world population will increase from 7.3 billion in 2015 to 8.1 billion by 2023 and to 9.6 billion by 2050. With these increases of population and with the rise of people's consumption levels, the demand for natural resources will also increase. For example, to meet the demands of 73 million people for food, clothing, accommodations and transportation etc., a huge amount of natural resources must be consumed. The resources of our Earth are limited, however the increase of population is unlimited. We have limited water and land resources, so how are we going to handle this challenge? If we do not have a feasible plan to control the population growth or change our lifestyles and production modes, one day the resources will become exhausted and humanity's doom will not be much farther away, no matter how many UN meetings are held or what efforts the governments of each country take. We are facing a huge crisis. The best way to overcome this is to gradually move toward a communist lifestyle. In other words, only communism can save the world. Communism is not just a new lifestyle and a new production system, it is a noble faith. It is the essence of the thoughts of many saints and sages ever since the ancient Greek philosopher Plato wrote of an ideal lifestyle that is desired by ordinary citizens. Communism represents universal values. Social issues such as racial discrimination, religious disputes, state rivalries, national extremes, distribution inequity, selfishness and greed, resource waste, territorial disputes, population growth, huge military spending, government overstaffing and corruption, and high volumes of waste can all be resolved and eliminated through communism. In addition, communism can purify our souls and sublimate our characters, and it will not only make materially abundant lives possible, but the state of global happiness will be elevated as well. The communism I discuss here is very different from the communism described by Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, and Mao Zedong. The way it realizes the communist production relationship has essential differences from the ways carried out by Lenin and Mao. Please do not jump to the conclusion that the communism I mentioned is like your previous experience and perception of the term. To differentiate between our communism and that described by Marx, Lenin, and Mao, we temporarily name ours, Xiaofeng-style communism. Xiaofeng-style communism has been running for over 7 years, and it has proven through practice that Xiaofeng-style communism can be fully realized under current conditions. Xiaofeng-style communism can resolve the crises of unequal distribution of wealth, intemperate consumption of natural resources, population expansions, financial storms, huge military expenditures, overstaffed civil offices, and disposal problems. Moreover, Xiaofeng-style communism will bring an unprecedented bright life to the human condition. Xiaofeng-style communism has realized the following after 7 years' practice. From each according to his ability and to each according to his needs. Everyone has something to do and a place in which to live, and people never need to worry about making a living. Everyone does their best according to their talents and abilities. No one pockets anything found on the road and doors are unbolted at night. There is no stealing, cheating, robbing, or concealing of goods. There is no marriage and no family. Also, there is no currency within the community. Love is free, but there is no sexual promiscuity or venereal disease. The environment of the community is beautiful, clean, and orderly. Nobody has personal belongings. Everything belongs to the community and everyone is selfless. Illness is reduced to the minimum and the average expenditure on medical care is less than yuan 200 RMB per person, per year. If we lived this lifestyle, aging would slow down and the average lifespan would exceed 80 years. However, our ideal is for everyone to live up to 120 years and to die peacefully and without illness. The young will get a proper education and the old will be well taken care of. Rearing and educating children will no longer be their parents' responsibility. There will be no widows or empty-nest elderly. Also, there would be no undisciplined or neglected children. People live in harmony with others, with society, and with nature. Over the last 7 years, Xiafeng-style communism has never had any conflicts with neighbors or with the outside world. We have never hurt little animals such as birds, snakes, or fish. We have planted many trees and flowers which not only beautified the environment, but also brought vigor and vitality to our community. Over the last 7 years, no crime has taken place within our community, and fighting is extremely rare. We use no chemical fertilizers or pesticides in our fields, human and animal wastes are well composted into fertilizer. Also, we separate rubbish from waste, and purify the sewage. Zero pollution has been nearly accomplished. We have no administrators, no leaders, and no offices within the community. Also, there is no command or force, and everyone consciously and generously infuses himself into his work because every member is also a laborer. We have no religious rituals or activities and there are no spells or idolatry. In all affairs, whether big or small, the responsibilities are well divided. Traditional heavy housework has been eliminated. We only celebrate festivals of nature, such as Chinese Spring Festival, Qingming Festival, Dragon Boat Festival, and Mid-Autumn Festival. Apart from natural festivals, we celebrate no other festivals and we do not celebrate individual birthdays. We keep communications open with the outside world. Everyone communicates with the outside world by telephone, email, and WeChat Messenger. Strict screening is required before anyone may enter our community, but anyone can leave the community freely. We are self-sufficient. We are not supported from the outside world nor do we need to be. We do not take capitalists' wealth. Every member relocates to a new facility every 3 years to avoid aesthetic fatigue, forming cliques, or being trapped into relationships. All the resources are highly shared and utilized. For example, 150 people within our community share 5 cars. However, under capitalism, 4 people typically share a car. In this case, 150 people save 32 cars. We can enjoy very good lives with only 1/4 of the resources needed in a capitalist system. There are no rules and no discipline with punishment. We comply only with the natural and civilization Tao. A strong credit system has been established. Those who are dishonest will fail as in the parable of the long spoons. Birth control is well carried out. No children have been born in our community during the last 7 years. One reason for this is to comply with national laws and regulations, and another is to lighten the burden of the nearly fully loaded planet. The funeral system of Xiafeng-style communism is such that no matter who passes on, only simple farewell ceremonies are held. Their bodies are committed to fire and their ashes are sprinkled to nature. We have no graves, mausoleums, or urns, ash boxes. If measured by GPI, Genuine Progress Indicator, HDI, Human Development Index, and NHI, National Happiness Index, it goes without saying that the Xiafeng-style communist community is at the forefront. If the whole world can do the above, all humanity's crises would disappear quickly. Here, I want to say to all the capitalists that Xiafeng-style communism would not take your wealth away. To the contrary, it would bring you safety and stability. It would provide you with soulfulness and spiritual abundance. We human beings not only need financial well-being, but also soulful and spiritual well-being. Xiefeng-style communism helps people to achieve their highest levels of self-transcendence. As stated in Abraham Maslow's demand theory, you would lead very good lives. If you do not carry out communism, there will be no escape from the poor, because when a huge crisis comes, your armies and police will not be able to protect you. The wealth you possess will not save you. Here I want to say to the head of each country's government that Xiefeng-style communism would not interfere with your management, nor would it threaten or harm to your powers and positions. We are neither a religious group nor a political group, we are just a completely new production and life model. Please understand this, the person who has strong beliefs and ideals would never covet after short-lived power and position, nor would they waste valuable time on possessions and vanity. Here I want to say to the 80% of people who own only 5.5% of the world's wealth that your only way out is to move towards Xiefeng-style communism, that no matter what you do, you are not able to ascend to the upper classes. Your lives are constant struggles to survive. When you suffer from illness or natural disaster, you are set way back. For even those of you who own hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, that is only a drop in the bucket. If there is no food for a month, you would know hunger. Therefore, you should long for communism and devote yourselves to communism. Only communism can save you. Taking stopgap measures cannot solve humanity's problems. The only way out is for the whole world to transit to Xiefeng-style communism. How does capitalism transfer to Xiefeng-style communism? With keen eyesight and an open mind and heart, observe, investigate, visit, learn, and study the successful, practical experience of Xiefeng-style communism in our community. The transition should be supported by the United Nations and executed by the respective government of each country, with specific plans and steps. Do not practice this as a worldwide movement, but experiment in small regions at first. Each country should start with from 1 to 3 experimental regions. If they are successful, then they should spread it gradually, if not, then can give it up. In this way, such practices would not inhibit the normal operation of the current system, and it would also be good for exploring the methods and ways of eliminating the current crises which face humanity. Throughout the whole practice, Xiefeng-style communism will not deprive capitalists of their property, and capitalists can continue their commercial activities by following market law. Once half the people on earth enter this communist lifestyle, and when the capitalists see that communist life is more ideal than their current lives, they will embrace it and become willingly involved with the exploration and practice of Xiefeng-style communism. Not putting requirements on anybody at any time is the core principle of Xiefeng-style communism. People who are involved in the production and life of Xiefeng-style communism must first have a soul garden purification. Capitalism is created and realized by stimulating people's selfishness, greed, wisdom, and skill to realize individual value through attaining resources, wealth, status, rights, and fame. However, Xiefeng-style communism is created by positively inspiring the qualities of sincerity, kindness, beauty, love, faith, and honesty deep within people's hearts, to climb to the highest realm of temporary life and eternal life. Without purifying one's soul garden, the laziness, selfishness, and greed of people cannot be overcome, and such people are not suitable for a communist lifestyle. After 7 years' practice, Xiefeng-style communism is still not perfect. We are still exploring it as walking a tightrope or walking on thin ice, which means that we need wise and judicious people from all over the world to point our mistakes out, to offer advice, and to practice it together. We need understanding as well as involvement and support from governments much more. The future is bright but the road is tortuous. No matter how tough the path and how much difficulty we encounter, we need to make every effort to succeed. Only by making strong effort, can we have hope, but once we give up making this effort, the future will definitely be bleak.